happy Friday. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great week so far. Today we're going to be creating this very sweet chunky mini album, and I'm using the Park Lane Woodland collection. If you caught my last video, I suggested that I might challenge myself to create all of my videos for March with this paper pad, and you all seem to think that was a great idea, so we're going to go ahead and continue on with that theme. So this will be project number 2, and we have 7 left to get through on this paper pad. So I'm hopeful and optimistic, but if we use up all the paper, I will also consider that to be a win because I've not added anything to my stash. So either way, we're going to get through this. So if you want to make this mini, also stick with me and we will make this together. The base for this book will look familiar to you if you have been with me for a while, but we have made a change to the size, so I thought it would be worth covering again. And so I'm just going to go over that really quickly before we get into finishing the final project. So I have 2 different weights of paper. The structure, or the inside, is going to be 65 pound weight cardstock, and I have these cut 4 inches high by 8 1/4 inches wide. I've put my first score line in at 4 and the second one at 4 1/4. This is going to give me a finished page size of 4 by 4, and you're going to need 4 of these to complete the inside structure. Then we're going to switch to 110 pound weight, and that will add all the sturdiness and the thickness that we want for this little chunky book to be very sturdy. So I have these cut at 4 by 8 and I scored it at 4. So this is going to cover up the pages when we work along, and you're going to need 5 of these to complete the book. I have an additional piece here that is 65 pound weight. Again, it is cut to 4 inches high. I have not cut the width yet because I'm going to do that once I have it on the book. So the first process for this is to join these sections together, and I have already added my adhesive. I'm going to use a combination of double-sided adhesive tape along with a small line of Tombow, and that extra little bit of adhesive will ensure that this stays together nicely. So it's pretty easy to put these together because they're all basically going to be 4-inch squares. So all you have to do is line these up and join them at the corners and make sure everything is straight and square, and then everything will measure perfectly. And the double-sided adhesive will help to keep those layers in place while the glue sets up. I have already finished the back side of this, and I had joined 2 of them before I started filming. So this is going to be the last piece we put on. I put tape on both sides because that will help me to adhere it to the core and then also to add the cover. So what I want to do is the same process again, using my tape and my Tombow, and then joining them together at the corner. Now we have all 4 sections put together. You will notice that I have added my adhesive to the front and back cover, and I also added a row of that double-sided adhesive tape on each of the sections of the spine, and that just helps to make sure that everything stays nice and secure. So what I'm going to do is bring in that secondary piece of paper that we have and also my scoreboard. And I'm going to start with the front cover, removing my tape backing. Then I will line these up just the same as I did for the inside sections, starting with the corner and making sure that it is square and even, going all the way across. Now is when I want to add the score line for this side, and you definitely want to do this to get a nice crisp edge on the side and to help to measure this correctly. So I'm just lining up the edge of that book with one of the score lines, and I'll just go ahead and crease that here so that we get that nice clean edge. I'm going to just go ahead and fold it over now before we get started as well. And then I'll remove all of the backing from the tape on the spine. And then I'll add a little bit more Tombow. I'm being careful not to go too close to the edge here because I didn't want it to squeeze out and become tacky. So I'll just fold that over where I had previously already made that score. Press that down so we get a very good contact. And then just like we did for the front cover, we're going to bend that all the way over, line it up on the scoreboard to one of the grooves, and then mark down with my score tool. Fold it before we glue it to make sure that everything is lining up absolutely correctly. Remove the tape, refold that, up to this point, we have only used that 65-pound weight cardstock. We want to come back in and add those thicker layers of paper to get the bulky sturdiness that we want. So I've already added my tape to the inside of these, and it helps to remove the backing from one side first, adhere it, and then pull the tape from the other side. So I'll just set my book here and work that page in. I can feel when it is straight on the bottom and even along the side as I work along. And I'll just go ahead and press that into place. Then I will take the tape off the other side and press it over, and that will become the very thick, nice, sturdy cover. And we're going to do that for all of the pages inside. So I've got all of my thicker pages added for the stability of this, and we've got our base that is 4x4x1, and we're ready to add all the finishing details. Okay, now we get on to the fun part, and that is finishing our little album. And because all of our pages are 4x4 square, that means all of the measurements can be the same, and that helps to make this go a little bit faster and easier. So we're going to start with our cardstock layer. This is going to be 3 7/8 by 3 7/8, and that will be consistent all the way throughout the book. I have 2 different page types that I'm going to add, and we're going to create 4 of each type. And that way we can fill the whole book and just have a small amount of measurements that we need to get this finished. So each set of pages is going to have a full size page flip. And so this is going to measure 3 3/4 by 7 1/2, and I scored it at 3 3/4. I'm going to add it to my cardstock just like this. So you're going to get a full size page and then flip that open and have the beautiful pattern paper showing on the inside. This adds a lot of thickness as well as added space for finishing when you put all the last details in. So I'm just going to go ahead and add these. And these are going to be on the outside. That fold will add a little bit of extra bulk, so I want to have it on the outside rather than the inside. So I'll just include this with all of those same nice borders that we like to add, and that will be our last page. So for the left-hand pages, I want to include a pocket, and I'm going to make the pocket out of the pattern paper rather than an additional layer of cardstock. I'm going to show you with this scrap piece because it'll be a lot easier to see on this lighter color without pattern. So what I'm going to do is bring back my scoreboard and cut my piece to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I know that doesn't leave a lot of room on the sides, but remember we're trying to be frugal with our paper. And so once I had my other two sections cut off, this is what I had left, and I wanted it to be an even measurement so it would be easier to share. So it will work fine because we're going to add our regular double-sided adhesive as well as the Tombow, so not to worry, it will be perfectly secure. So I'm going to bring this to the corner. I don't know how easy that is to see, but I'm going to score at 1/4 inch on the outside edges. So both of them are scored at 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to flip that and score it at 3 3/4. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the section on top where it falls outside of the score line. I did mine with my paper cutter just to get a nice square, even, nice clean edge, but I'll just show you here with a scissor, and you can do whichever is easiest for you, but I just thought it was a little bit of a nicer, cleaner edge. So I took off that whole top portion. I'll do the same for this side as well. Then I'm going to come in here and just clip off these corners so that we don't create any additional bulk there when we adhere it. So next you want to just fold up that bottom section and then fold it in from the sides as well. So I'm going to add my adhesive to these flaps and secure them on the back. I'll do the same for this side. Then I'll just go ahead and switch back over to my pattern paper. So I picked the patterns in the collection that I liked both sides of, since I knew they would both be showing. And I was very aware of things going upside down, so I made sure not to score it on the wrong side. And so this has already been adhered to create the pocket. I'll just remove this double-sided tape. Don't forget to add your Tombow and then adhere your pocket to your cardstock. I'm just going to pull it a little closer so that I can see to get it centered well. I think this darker gray coordinates very well with the plum color of the background. Now we're sure that that is going to be nice and well adhered. And then I'll just add this to the left-hand side. So now we know that all of these pages are going to coordinate well because they're just the A and B side of the pattern paper from the collection. So we're going to get a flip page and a pocket for each one. And so I have already prepared the remaining pieces, so I'll just go ahead and add those now, and this will fill up very quickly. Paper has the most beautiful foiling. So to make the most use of my pattern paper, I did wind up working with 2 for all of these pages, and I used both sides. So if I had a strip cut off for one page, I used the butterfly on one side and the mushroom on the inside, and then on the last set of pages I used the mushroom and the butterfly. That way I would get a good use out of all of that paper and not leave any behind. Here is the pocket that coordinates. You can see now why we have so much room in the spine there, because these are good thick layers, and we're going to have even more added to the bulkiness when we fill the pockets. So here is what will be the first set of pages, because we worked from the back forward. And because I really love that foil, I'm going to pick that one for the first set of pages. And here is the pocket. I can put the back on now as well. I want to make sure that coordinates nicely. So I've got, well, let's get that butterfly going upright. This with all the same matting. So that was 3 7/8 inch square for that gray cardstock and 3 3/4 for the pattern paper. And then I can also cover the spine. So when I am working along, I try to save my offcuts so that I can get a good use out of them. And so I'm going to wind up using that to cover my spine. So the cardstock I did cut to be an inch wide, even though this is already an inch wide. I didn't inset that. I didn't decrease that measurement because you always pick up a little bit of extra width when you wrap your spine around. So I have that cut at 1 inch wide by 3 7/8 inch tall. So the pattern paper is going to be 7/8 of an inch wide and 3 3/4 inch high. And you're still going to get that nice border all the way around because of the extra width from wrapping that cover on. This can be tricky to get this. So here is the spine. I added my pattern papers to a 110-pound cardstock just as an extra added bit of strength for that cover. And now is when you want to bring in your trim. I think this beautiful diamond satin coordinates perfectly, and as I do, I just want to secure it to the base here before I add my front cover. So this will be sandwiched between the book pattern papers for the outside. I'm just going to trim off the excess now. You see, I've left a very generous length for a good sized bow to be tied, and I can bring in my front cover now. This is a pretty small book, and I didn't feel like it had a lot of room for a doily, so I'm not going to add one, and for that reason I just went ahead and used that bigger pattern on the outside. I know a lot of it's going to be covered, but we're still going to get those beautiful colors and background. So I have one of the cut aparts from the collection, and I clipped out all of the background so that it would leave me with a small compact little sentiment, and this is foiled as well, so that looks really nice. And there is foam tabs on the back, so this will give us a little added dimension. And I'm just going to position this a little bit right and higher than the middle because now we have room for our flowers. And these are just some pretty coordinating flowers from Little Birdie Crafts, and I combined them with my gold netting and my loopy twine bows, and there's just enough room there. Now before we get finished, the last detail we want to add are the tags, and I was able to get 2 tags out of the offcuts, and then I did have to go back to another full-size sheet for the other ones, but that's okay because we have enough, I think, of that page left to work with for another project. I have my cardstock cut to be 3.5 inch square, and the pattern paper is 3 3/8. So we're going to still keep that nice border, and I have a pocket for each page. I thought it would be nice to alternate them so that the pattern from the tag did not match exactly the pocket and the flip page, so that way it'll be a little bit more interesting. There is room in these pockets for some additional pictures or flat keepsakes or mementos, so you're going to be able to continue to fill this little mini up and have lots of good memories and pictures to go with it. So that's all for our mini for today. Let's just give this a nice bow. I may come back in later and clip a little bit of this ribbon, but for now we're all set on this project. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial for this little 4-inch chunky mini album made with the Park Lane Woodland collection for our merch challenge. If you did, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to leave a big thumbs up for this project as well. You can find links for all our social medias in the description, and if you're not already, I would love for you to join the Polly's family by hitting the subscribe button and also the bell so you'll be notified every time we add new content. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!